This is the Microfreak by Arturia, a new compact synthesizer with a touch keyboard, but it's polyphonic to some extent. So let's do a quick unboxing and have a look at it. So it comes with a quick start guide, 2 MIDI adapter cables for in and out, and this small external power supply. Don't lose the power cable because it's one of those more unusual 3-pin computer laptop type cables. So here's the machine itself, compact as I said, and it immediately puts you in mind of the EDP Wasp with its 2-octave touch keyboard. But as we mentioned, Microfreak is polyphonic, at least it's paraphonic. It plays 4 notes at a time and they all go through one analog filter. So they can't be voiced completely independently if the filter is opening and closing during the course of the note. But, and it's a big but, Microfreak doesn't only have analog sound generation. It has a lot of other sound generation methods as well, which we'll look at in a moment. And those include methods where it sounds as if a filter is opening and closing when it isn't, things like wavetable synthesis. Therefore you can get 4-note polyphonic playing, which does sound completely independently voiced. It's only on the analog setting that you have this limitation of a single filter. So there's a full-size 1/4-inch jack cable on the back for audio out. Switch on and let's have a quick look at a sound. This one's called Ether. As you see, you can slide a finger up and down the touch keyboard. It's not as smooth as on the Wasp because there's these small black dividers between notes, but you can play in this gliding style. Now that sound Ether isn't preset number 1 because preset number 1 is a bit unusual. There's a lot here involving repeated envelopes or arpeggiator patterns. So who's the Microfreak aimed at? Well, certainly people who are making more experimental music. You don't go through here and find the usual general MIDI set of pianos and strings and organs, although it is quite versatile and would be able to have a go at that type of sound. But mainly it's for the more flexible experimental type of sound. Let's have a look at a few more patches. Just select on here to get the next sound. The display goes off to save power when it's not in use, but immediately comes back on when you need it. So there's a arpeggiated pattern. The light goes on to tell you you've got paraphonic 4-note mode available. Here's a simpler bass sound. And something else a bit more unusual. Now, a patching matrix on the top left hand corner shows you the types of modulation available in each patch, and you can see that the source is down the left, the envelope, LFO, aftertouch, yes, there's some aftertouch on it, and arpeggiator can be patched into pitch, wave shape, timbre, filter cutoff, and 3 assignable destinations. So each time you choose a new sound, the whole matrix changes to show you what's going on in terms of modulation. When you choose the assignable destinations on the mod matrix, you can set up your own sources and destinations, and then of course save that away into a memory. Here's another techno type sound. And another deep bass sound. The small display shows you not only the name of each sound, but the category which it falls under. Let's have a look at one under the special effects category. And another special effects sound. And another bass. Obviously that's a powerful bass pattern. You might like to look at the Microfreak as just your bass synthesizer. If you want to change sounds completely, we can start changing the synthesis type. Something here called superwave, then harmonic synthesis, K plus strong, which is for plucked sounds, virtual analog, wave shape, 2 operator FM, and as I mentioned, using one of these modes is the way to get more convincing polyphonic playing, because you're not dependent on the single analog filter. Let's have a look at the wave shaper sound and turn up our sustain times a little bit. And if we change that to 2 operator FM, obviously completely different. And a formant sound. With a human voice-like texture to it. You can also, in the wave shape modes, change the wave and change the timbre. And here back to the analog filter with the usual cutoff and resonance controls. You have 3 modes: low pass, band pass and high pass. So you can hear the sound going very thin there in the high pass filter mode and losing a lot of bass end that you may not want. The arpeggiator and other facilities works using these small touch panels above the keys. Is also a pitch bending strip. Which is handy. Let's have a look at one of these arpeggiator patterns, perhaps with a change of sound as well. Of course, you can switch up and down octaves. That's another powerful bass sound, quite Moog-like. What you don't have on the Microfreak is any effects, so you might want to add echo and reverb from an outboard. Looking at the more advanced modulation possibilities, on here you can switch the LFO wave shape. Again, you see it in the little display at the top. Just to make that point about the single filter again, here's some chords playing, and I'll open and close the filter. So it's a nice effect, but it does work on all 4 notes simultaneously. Just a couple of performance points. You do have aftertouch, for example here opening and closing the filter. And you have polyphonic glide as well. Here's a simple bass sound which we'll use to demo the arpeggiator. And you can also record more complex sequences of your own. With the arpeggiator you can change the note order and simply tap to hold the arpeggio on. On the subject of patterns, the envelopes have loop modes as well. This touch strip actually has a choice of 3 different functions: splice, dice or bend. Bend is the most obvious. Splice and dice cut the sound up into different patterns. Just a quick look at the back panel, which gives you your mini jack headphone output, the 1/4" audio out, CV and gate outs from the keyboard and also aftertouch, clock in and out on mini jacks, and MIDI in and out again on mini jacks with adapters supplied, USB and the power input. Given the Microfreak's compact size, it would have been nice to find it with a battery power option. It's so compact that it would be nice to not be dependent on mains power all the time. A mini speaker could be a possible inclusion, and also onboard effects which you don't have. but the sounds are versatile given all these different synthesis methods. I was going to say that the Microfreak isn't the sort of keyboard that you'd find in use in a symphonic metal band, but with these heavy basses, this is the superwave synthesis method. You have some wonderful Moog Taurus type basses there, so that would be a good possible use for the synth. A utility mode is here with a simple short menu to cover your preset management, MIDI mode, sync, master tuning and so on. Can you play the touch keyboard quickly? Well, you can play it quickly, you have to be a bit careful. So that's the Microfreak by Arturia, playing away quietly behind me. It's compact, it's affordable, it has a wide choice of sound synthesis techniques, and it certainly has some very unusual sounds. Also some powerful sounds, particularly when you look at the analog settings, some fantastic heavy basses. But to get 4-note polyphony, you can get away from the analog and the single filter and use wavetable and FM and other sound synthesis methods, which are quite versatile without depending on that single filter. Minus points: it would have been nice to have a built-in speaker, built-in effects and battery power. But the Microfreak comes in at an affordable price point. It's going to find a lot of use among the more experimental musicians who want to call up its sounds and textures, perhaps play it in combination with a Eurorack setup, making some slightly more abstract and looping types of music. But I wouldn't rule out its being used in settings like a symphonic metal band, if only as a synthesizer for heavy bass monophonic sounds.